You step into an elevator, the doors hang open, and you jab the close door button. Once. Twice. Harder. Nothing happens. Then, after exactly the same wait as always, the doors close on their own. Here's the part nobody tells you. That button is not broken. It is fully wired, it is checked at inspection, and the safety code requires it to work. Just not for you. So why keep it? A switch that ignores you on millions of panels feels like a prank. Surely you would either connect it or unscrew it, and it is not dead everywhere. In Europe, the accessibility standard for lifts explicitly allows a close button that shortens the wait, and riders use it every day. Same button, same doors. But in most American elevators built in the last 30 years, pressing it does nothing. Something specific happened in the United States. To find it, we have to go back to when the elevator had a person inside. For most of the elevator's history, you never touched a control. An operator did. They ran the car, and they decided when the doors closed. Then, in September 1945, roughly 15,000 New York operators, doormen and porters walked off the job, and a city of skyscrapers discovered how completely it depended on the people in those little cabs. The industry took the hint. In 1948, Otis unveiled a system it called Autotronic, and in 1950, the 11-story Atlantic Refining Building in Dallas became the first building in the world with high-speed elevators and nobody driving them. The operator was gone, but their controls stayed on the panel. You, the passenger, inherited their job, and one of those jobs was closing the door. So the button was born working. For 4 decades, it did exactly what it says, which means the button did not fail. Something was decided about it. If that reframing is worth something to you, a like is a fair trade, and it works on the first press, unlike the button we are talking about. Subscribe if you enjoy finding the hidden logic behind everyday absurdities, and tell me in the comments which one you want explained next. Because the decision that silenced this button was made for a very good reason. On July 26, 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed. A year later came its accessibility guidelines, enforceable for new construction from January 1992. Deep in the elevator section is a number, 1.5 feet per second. That is the design walking speed of someone crossing a lobby on crutches with a cane or in a wheelchair. For comparison, American traffic engineers assume a pedestrian crossing a street moves at 3.5 feet per second, more than twice as fast. The rule says the doors may not begin closing until a person moving at that slower pace could get from the farthest hall call button to the car, and never in less than 5 seconds. Once open, they must stay fully open at least 3 seconds. And then comes the line that decides everything. Pressing door close cannot cut those minimums. Read that carefully, because the law never says disconnect the button. It sets a floor. In theory, the button could still shorten any extra time above that floor. But in practice, installers set the controller's door hold time right at the legal minimum. There is no extra time. There is no window in which your press could legally do anything. The button is dead in software, in a circuit that is completely alive. And you can prove it is alive. Turn a firefighter's key in that panel and the elevator enters what the code calls phase 2. Now the doors close only under constant pressure on the close button, and if you let go before they meet, they spring back open. Firefighters get the button you thought you had. So do the mechanics who test it at inspection. Step into an office tower from before 1992, which was never required to be retrofitted, and the button may still work for everyone. Even the industry rejects the word placebo. In 2016, the head of the National Elevator Industry Trade Group told the New York Times that the riding public cannot make the doors close any faster, then insisted it is not merely a placebo button. The function changed in 1990. It did not vanish. And the popular figure that 80% of these buttons are fake? It traces back to a single museum curator's remark on a radio show with no data behind it. Why does the myth feel so right? Because psychologists have known for 50 years that we love control. In 1975, Ellen Langer showed that people who picked their own lottery ticket valued it more than 4 times higher than one they were handed, at identical odds. Perceived control lowers stress. Nobody has actually measured whether pressing this button makes the wait feel shorter, and nothing suggests it was left there to comfort you. It stayed because the code needs it, and removing millions of buttons costs money. The comfort is a side effect. The silence is a design. Every time that button ignores you, it is holding the doors for someone who needs those 5 seconds to reach them. Nothing makes sense until it does.